Hello and welcome to another live episode of the Alex Nitzberg Show. I'm Alex Nitzberg. Thank you for joining me today. Obviously a little bit later than normal. I normally do this at 3:30, but I was just coming back from Oregon, so I've arrived back in Florida. I'm doing this a little bit later, but thank you for joining me. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on X, the platform previously known as Twitter, if you enjoy these shows. So, like I said, I just got back from Oregon, so I'm going to actually have a little short video I took of the scenery at the Lake of the Woods in Oregon that I went to. I'll show you that at the end of the show. But first, we will go to the news. And there's your reminder. Please don't forget to give it a thumbs up if you enjoy these shows. So, the CDC is recommending that people 6 months and older get these new updated COVID vaccine shots. And I'll show you here this press release here. CDC recommends everyone 6 months and older get updated COVID-19 vaccine to protect against the potentially serious outcomes of COVID-19 illness this fall winter. And I'm showing you here kind of both sides. The CDC is saying that you should get it, and then I'm going to show you the Florida Surgeon General, Joseph Ladapo, is basically saying that most people should not get it. What he specifically says, actually, I think he says everybody basically under 65 should not get it, and then everybody else above that, talk to your doctor. In fact, I'll skip there before I get there. Where is it here? I'm going to get there in a second. But, his guidance specifically is recommending against the booster for individuals under 65. But I'll get there in a second. So anyway, here it says vaccination, this is CDC again, vaccination remains the best protection against COVID-19 related hospitalization and death. Notice that they're not even trying to tell you that it's, they're not saying you're not going to get COVID-19. They're just saying it's the best protection against COVID-19 related hospitalization and death. So then it says vaccination also reduces your chance of suffering the effects of long COVID, which can develop during or following acute infection and last for an extended period. So anyway, here's a clip of the new CDC director basically telling you that she and her children are going to be getting this shot.
The new updated COVID-19 vaccine is the
Whoops. I got that on double time. Let me put that back on regular.
most effective way to give your body the ability to keep the COVID virus from causing you harm. That's why CDC recommends everyone 6 months and older get 1 dose of the updated COVID-19 vaccine ahead of the fall and winter season. This recommendation was based on extensive data and clinical trials. As a doctor, a mom, a wife, a daughter, and head of the CDC, I would not recommend anything to others that I wouldn't recommend for my own family. That's why my 9 and 11-year-old daughters, my husband, my parents, and I will all be rolling up our sleeves to get our updated COVID-19 vaccine. I encourage you to get your own updated COVID vaccine.
So yeah, the CDC is pushing these new shots. And here's my response to that. Nope. And it's not just me, actually. Here is Senator Mitt Romney of Utah's response to that. Also saying nope. I mean, there's a lot of us out there. And, let me know in the comments what you all think about this. I personally never got any of the vaccine shots. And I don't plan to. Let me know what you guys, did. Some people got a few of them and then quit. Some people never got any. Some people are getting all of them. 5, 6, or 7 or whatever it is. I think it's 6 or 7 for some people at this point. But it's obviously personal, so if you don't want to leave a comment, that's fine. But if you would like to let me know, you can leave that. But here's Joseph Ladapo, the Florida Surgeon General, and he's literally giving the opposite. In fact, if you look at his tweet here, it says CDC and FDA continue to push COVID vaccines that are not backed by clinical evidence, but blind faith alone with zero regard for the widespread immunity. The American people deserve the truth, but the Biden admin only wants to control your behavior. And here is this press release or whatever it is, this guidance, and it says... right here, let me see here. It says, a new mRNA COVID-19 booster was approved on September 11, 2023 by the federal government. While the initial mRNA COVID-19 vaccines were authorized by the United States Food and Drug Administration utilizing human clinical trial data, the most recent booster approval was granted in the absence of any meaningful booster-specific clinical trial data performed in humans. In both cases, the federal government has failed to provide sufficient data to support the safety and efficacy of the COVID-19 vaccines. Healthcare providers are expected to include this information. Okay, so then down here it says bold. Based on the high rate of global immunity and currently available data, the state surgeon general recommends against COVID-19 booster for individuals under 65. Individuals 65 and older should discuss this information with their healthcare provider, including potential concerns outlined in this guidance. And if you look down here at this guidance, they have these bullet points here laying out some of the issues involved. It says, throughout the pandemic, studies across geographic regions have found that the mRNA COVID-19 vaccines are associated with negative effectiveness after 4 to 6 months. As efficacy waned, studies showed that COVID-19 vaccinated individuals developed an increased risk for infection. This is not found in other vaccines, including the flu vaccine. And then here it says, the mRNA COVID-19 vaccines present a risk of subclinical and clinical myocarditis and other cardiovascular conditions among otherwise healthy individuals. So yeah, and here it also says there is unknown risk of the potential adverse impacts with each additional dose of mRNA COVID-19 vaccine. Currently, individuals may have received 5 to 7 doses and counting of this vaccine over a 3-year period. Elevated levels of spike protein from mRNA COVID-19 vaccine persist among some individuals for an indefinite period of time, which may carry health risks. And here's a little clip of Ladapo on Hannity talking about this.
One of the things actually that we're seeing in the data is that the COVID-19 vaccines, they appear to increase the risk of infection over time. And this is from multiple studies. We were slow to say anything about it initially because it's obviously a big deal to say something like that. But now we've seen that in multiple studies around the world, different time periods. After a few months, a little longer in some studies, they actually appear to increase the risk of contracting COVID-19. So yes, that's what we're seeing here in Florida also. And fortunately, it is mild for almost everyone. Not everyone, unfortunately, but for almost everyone.
So that's that. And then here is Governor DeSantis from Florida saying, we will not stand by and let the FDA and CDC use Floridians as guinea pigs for mRNA jabs that have not been proven to be safe or effective. And here's a clip of him. Let's see, what was I going to play here? Well, here's a clip of him saying something. Let me play it. See. Here.
But are you honestly going to tell me that we should be jabbing 6-month-old babies with this new mRNA shot based on that data, such a limited amount of data? It is reckless for the CDC to be telling parents around this country that it's safe to jab their kids with this. First of all, before you even get to the safety, you got to say, what's the benefit? They cannot point to a benefit for why a 6-month-old baby would have this, or a 2-year-old, or a 6-year-old. And so it's just further evidence that these agencies like the CDC, FDA, and NIH, they've really been corrupted by ideology, by politics, and we need a reckoning for all these agencies. And so we're doing our part in Florida. But I hope to be able to bring this all in for a landing nationwide by upending the nonsense in D.C.
So, yeah, so that's all my COVID stuff there. But yeah, you look at the CDC is basically saying the exact opposite of what the state of Florida through Surgeon General Ladapo is saying. Ladapo is basically telling almost everybody not to get the vaccine, and then telling the older people to talk to their doctor about it. He's basically everybody younger. He's just saying don't get it, and then the CDC is telling like 6-month-old babies and everybody else, up to get it. So, it'll be interesting. I'm just presenting what the CDC and Ladapo are saying. So if I get in trouble with YouTube for this video, I mean that's just ridiculous too, because I'm just presenting information. With the state Surgeon General of Florida is telling people not to get the vaccine and laying out reasons, why he's saying that. That is news, and hopefully this video will not be censored on YouTube. But I know that YouTube can be pretty bad about that kind of stuff sometimes. If it does for some reason get yanked down, I'll put it up on Twitter or something too. But to everyone who's tuned in live, thank you for watching it, and at least you'll get to watch it on YouTube. So hopefully nothing will happen, but anyway. So, all right, next topic here. Mitt Romney has announced that he's not running for re-election. You may have heard about that before. It happened, I think, let's see, it was a little while ago. But anyway, he announced that he is not going to seek re-election. And over here, we have Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina saying that he is sorry to hear that Senator Mitt Romney of Utah will not seek re-election. I know a lot of people out there are probably not sorry to hear that he will not be seeking re-election. So, also just wanted to note, and this is kind of a separate topic, but Lindsey Graham has been a big proponent of aiding Ukraine, U.S. aid to Ukraine. Here we have Tom Cotton, Senator Tom Cotton, saying that he wrote to President Biden with colleagues and urged him to provide Ukraine with missiles that its military needs to win. He says not doing so will only prolong the war and cost lives. So, yeah, who else is here? Oh, that's funny. I may have not paid attention to this before, but look, Lindsey Graham is actually on this letter. So, okay, and also Susan Collins, Roger Wicker, and I don't know if there's anybody else, and on a second page, or if that was it, but that's what he has on this page anyway. So apparently Lindsey Graham signed that. So yeah, we still have a lot of Republicans pushing for the U.S. to continue pumping aid into Ukraine, apparently, including weapons and stuff. Also, this was something else I was just going to mention here. You probably might have heard about the government funding fight that's kind of going on with the conservatives who, don't want to just let this keep going the way it usually does with just whether it's continuing resolution and, a massive omnibus right before Christmas or whatever. So we have Chip Roy is, basically, he is leading, well, I don't know if he's leading it. He seems to be like he's out front, but he and I guess other conservatives are wanting to get something. They don't just want to continue on with the status quo. They want to get some border security. I'm not sure if exactly they want other stuff. I'm going to show you this clip here. It's about 2 minutes of what Chip Roy is saying, and I think he's saying that basically the main thing is border security that they want. But I think there's other stuff they want too. But yeah, Republicans are really bad at actually being conservative, I guess, because whenever there's a government shutdown looming or whatever, if you're conservative, you'd think you'd be like, hey, A, I don't really care that much, if the government shuts down, and B, that's a good leverage point to use to get something, because the Democrats don't want the government to shut down, so you should be able to get some kind of concessions, cut some spending, get border security, do something, use that leverage point. But let me show you this clip here with Chip Roy.
Byron's got the dynamic down very clearly, and I think you all can understand that what we've tried to do as the Freedom Caucus and a broader block of conservatives in the House of Representatives is to lay out what we believe are the critical issues that we must address, like Jody was talking about. We're making very clear about the overall spending level still must be addressed. $2 trillion of deficit spending when you're $32 trillion of debt is completely unsustainable, and it's not something that we can continue. Number two, you can't continue to have a Department of Defense that is more focused on being woke and involved in social engineering than it is on mission first and defending the United States of America. The third thing you cannot do is continue to allow, as a Christian nation, a wide open border that is endangering American citizens through fentanyl poisonings and through human trafficking and sex trafficking that is harming immigrants in the false name of compassion. Fourth, you cannot allow the Department of Justice continue to be weaponized against the former president of the United States and against the American people. And I'd say fifth, we cannot continue to have a blank check going to Ukraine without dealing with what we need to do here at home first. Now, I would add a sixth element to that, which is I think we also need to deal with making sure we no longer prolong and continue the COVID tyranny nonsense and the mask mandates and vaccine mandates. But I do want to say, this is important for the fight coming in October, and then I'll stop and turn over, which is we cannot go down the road of a Christmas tree wish list when it comes to the fight that we're going to have in October. And Jody knows this full well. My colleagues here know this full well. We're going to have to centralize the fight. When you have a shutdown, which are almost as inevitably going to be because the Senate and the White House has no interest in standing up and defending you all and your interest in this country's interest. They're only interested in advancing radical leftist ideology. We have to hold the line. And to hold the line, we got to have a centralized message. We got to constrain spending and do our job to make sure the troops are funded to do their job, and we got to secure the border of the United States. And that's going to be a centralized theme as we head into October.
Excellent.
So, yeah, you guys can keep an eye out on the battle that's going on and which Republicans are actually fighting for conservative values and actually trying to, not just pass the continuing resolution, just keep, the massive, absurd, huge spending going on, but actually fighting for border security, whatever, spending cuts, something conservative. So it's good Chip Roy is doing that. Also, Mike Lee put out this pretty lengthy tweet thread, and I'm going to show you a clip of what he said too, but he's talking about just the horrible process that basically seems to play out. I'll read you some of this here. It's pretty long, so I might not read through all of it, but basically what he's saying is, these massive spending bills that come through where people aren't, able to really debate on them and stuff. And let me read you. It says, we're $33 trillion in debt because when Congress passes spending bills, each item is often tied to every other item, packaged together in one gigantic bill. This bill is presented to Congress on a take it or leave it basis with no real chance to amend, improve, or cut. He goes on to say the formula has been quite consistent for years. A tiny group of leaders, which I refer to as the law firm of Schumer, McConnell, McCarthy, and Jeffries, privately negotiates a draft spending bill, some would say with more input from lobbyists than most members of Congress. That bill is kept as if it were a highly classified secret until days, sometimes hours before a spending deadline. That is the moment the government will run out of money, resulting in a shutdown unless Congress passes another spending bill. And you guys have probably, I'm not going to read all this because I'm going to play a clip where he basically explains it verbally, but you guys have probably seen this stuff before where, like, you know, they release a monstrosity of a bill and then they pass it real quick. And anyway, let me show you what he actually said here. He kind of explains it.
We're $33 trillion in debt for one reason. We're doing it wrong. This is how we do it. This is how we spend in Washington. We tie every single spending item to every other spending item, and then members of Congress are told you've got to pass all of it in order to get any of it. You want to fund the troops, you want to fund Social Security, you want to fund this, that, or the other, then you have to fund everything else in between with no opportunity for individual input. So this comes about usually as we approach the end of a spending period, as we now are. On September 30th, we'll run out of money at midnight. At some point in the days leading up to that, typically what will happen is this. A small handful of appropriators will write something up with a push from the law firm of Schumer, McConnell, McCarthy, and Jeffries. And it'll materialize. Just shazam, here you go. From out of nowhere, here it is. Usually there's just a few hours to go. You've got to pass this thing. And if you don't, there'll be a shutdown. If there's a shutdown, we will blame you for that. But hey, vote how you want. You will have no opportunity to amend this. You will have no opportunity to read it, to understand what's in it, to share it with your constituents, to object to it, to improve it, to cut it. Nothing. So the law firm of Schumer, McConnell, McCarthy, and Jeffries keeps changing the law firm. It keeps running the bills. And what happens is almost every member of Congress is cut out of that process. And what that means is that the hundreds of millions of people that most members of Congress represent are in turn cut out of the process. This process will continue, and its deadly deficit and debt ushering consequences will continue to devastate America until it no longer works. But it will work as long as members vote for this. It's time for the American people to expect more. It's time to expect an actual process, and for members of Congress to have a say.
So, yeah. Yeah, keep an eye on the spending battle. I mean, we'll see what happens, but at least there's some good good people in there that are actually fighting at least. So that's good. Okay, so also this is a clip of DeSantis. I just want to show you what he's saying here is good. You don't when people are talking about the transgenders thing and stuff, it's like you don't accept a lie, like a crazy lie that's out there. You speak the truth and you don't accept the crazy lie. Let me show you that clip here.
There is value in standing up for what is true. And what woke agenda is it represents a war on the truth itself. Don't tell me a man can become a woman because it's not true. Don't tell me a man can get pregnant because it's not true. And we're not going to root our society in things that are false. The truth will set you free. And so
that's, yeah, I thought that was a good little snippet there on that. Also, this is kind of funny. I just saw this earlier today. This guy put up this thing that says, "You don't believe these are lemon bars, but I'm supposed to believe you're a woman." ? Because there's these brownies or something back here, and you can see there's a sign here that says lemon bars. Probably supposed to be here, but it is kind of funny because it's true. A person who totally accepts the whole transgender nonsense thing would laugh in your face if you tried to give them a brownie and tell them it was a lemon bar. They would be like, "Of course this is not a lemon bar, this is a brownie." But they're totally fine accepting that a man is a woman. So that is, I thought that was a really good point and funny, but also accurate. So, okay, and this is not news, but here's a little video that I took when I was at the Lake of the Woods in Oregon. It's a pretty lake. I was just visiting relatives out in Oregon. So anyway, that was something that I just did earlier this week. So anyway, thank you all for watching this episode of the show. And please don't forget that if you're enjoying these episodes, to follow me on X, the platform previously known as Twitter, and also on this. And also, I saw some comments over there, so let me just address those. Perseverance777 said, "Hello, Alex. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me again today Perseverance777. I appreciate your comments and you joining me on these shows. And also, Gina Lynn Morrison said, and I believe that she was talking about the CDC director. She said she's insane, absolutely no extensive studies. She's very foolish to do this to her young children. And she said about the vaccines, I think never will get one. And she said ivermectin works amazing. I'm reading the comments here from Gina Lynn Morrison. I also took ivermectin when I had COVID. So anyway, thank you to the two of you for your comments, and thank you to everyone else who watched this episode of the show. I should be back at 3:30 like normal next Saturday. So don't forget to give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and join me next week at the regular time at 3:30 for another episode. Have a great rest of your weekend. Bye-bye.